Kia ora and welcome back to Hollywood Wargaming. My name is Daimon and I'm here to talk to you today about Necromunda. Now, I'm here in Melbourne. I've just touched down in Melbourne last week, so excuse the lack of interesting background and perhaps the hollow sounding noise in the room. I'm in the spare room. It's very empty. There's no furniture in the house at the moment. All of our stuff is coming over on a shipping container, which can take up to 3 months. But if you saw my little short, I do have some sort of hobby space that I'm going to be working on in the garage. But it's probably a long way off where I want it to be at the moment, but we'll get there in the end. In the meantime, I thought it would be good to do a face-to-face sort of video for you here, because it's been a while since my last actual proper Necromunda video, but this one is just going to be something very, very, very silly. I thought I'd just do some, if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know that I'm a little bit eccentric, perhaps a little bit mental in general, and I like to constantly experiment with the game that is Necromunda. So what I've done here for you today is 6 silly spam lists. That's a lot of sibilants in there. 6 silly spam lists. For the main 6 houses in Necromunda, we've got one for Cawdor, Escher, Delac, Goliath, Fanstar, and Warlock, of course. Now these silly spam lists, of course, are pretty much the very limit of how far I can push things in silliness in terms of spam. What I mean by spam, if you're new to the game or you're new to sort of Games Workshop games and stuff in general, it just means repetition of lots and lots of the same sort of thing. I'll go into the details of what each of these lists are, but I've done 6 lists here for you. They are not to be taken seriously. They are not competitive in any way, but they are fun, and you could totally, I think they are all at least legal for the game, so you could indeed, actually have these gangs in Necromunda and use them to your heart's content. So be my guest. These are just some ideas, some hypothetical ideas. I haven't actually used them myself, but I know the game well enough to know that these will be pretty hilarious. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to start off with House Cawdor, of course, because we're going to go with best house. Alphabetical order. Now, House Cawdor are known, if you've played the game at all, House Cawdor are known as the all bodies sort of gang. They have a lot of guys generally. So that's kind of their USP, is that they usually outnumber the opponent. There are some mechanics in there which mean that you will nearly always outnumber your opponent should you have the numbers fit and healthy. But for this list here, for the silly Cawdor list, we've gone with full taking advantage of the numbers thing, and we've gone with an incredibly silly list here. I'm just going to bring up the gang cards here just so I can count exactly how many members of this gang I've created. It's actually too many to count. I think it's anyway, in every single gang list that you build in Necromunda, you have to start with a leader. Again, these are 1,000 credit gang lists for Underhive. They're not including any vehicles, and they're not for the Cinderak burning campaign or whatever it's called either. These are just 1,000 credit gangs. So you have to have a leader. I've gone with just the Cawdor Word Keeper here, which is the, you can have 2 different leaders for a Cawdor list. You can have a Redemptionist leader or a Cawdor leader. For this, thematically, it makes more sense to have a Cawdor leader, I think, because of the rest of the gang. But we've gone with a Cawdor Word Keeper here. Now he's got an axe and a reclaimed auto pistol with flak armor. So flak armor is 10 credits, an axe is 10 credits, and a reclaimed auto pistol is 5 credits. So his entire equipment loadout is 25 credits, making him 125 credits, which is quite a cheap leader. Now you don't have to take those things on him, but this is a silly spam list, so we'll do that anyway. We'll take cheap stuff. In terms of skills, though, you could probably give him anything really. You probably don't want to give him Iron Will because you've got all the numbers here. But you could give him Mentor, which is quite cool, to give extra XP to guys near you and stuff. You can give him Overseer. You can give him all sorts of things, or some ferocity skills like Nerves of Steel, etc. Anyway, so moving on, the next thing that we've got here are 35, why am I doing this? 35 bone pickers, which are the Cawdor Juves. It's just, I had to, didn't I? It's just too funny. So I've gone with 35 bone pickers. Now, of course, some scenarios, most scenarios have a limit to the amount of fighters you have. However, Cawdor always have a mechanic where you get extra Juves if you have Juves that are fielded. It's hard to explain, but you know what I mean. However, some of your scenarios don't have number limits, so you could sometimes field 36 fighters in this gang. Now, each of these bone pickers costs 25 credits each, and they're 20 credits base, and they come with either a stub gun or a reclaimed auto pistol. To be honest, I've put stub guns on this list, but I actually do favour the reclaimed auto pistol after having used them quite a lot to good effect. I think rapid fire generally is better than that +2 to hit with the stub gun that you get. Of course, the ammo isn't quite as good, but for 5 credits, reclaimed auto pistol is a fantastic weapon, if you ask me. So that is 36 rapid fire shots coming out per turn maximum, if you like. It's just ridiculous. Now, what we can talk about next, of course, is the paths of faith as well. You've got 4 different paths of faith here, and you could really get silly with this stuff. I would probably go with Path of the Doomed for the suicide bomber stuff. And yeah, but you really could mix and match and make some hilarious, ridiculous combos here. But if you do manage to field 36 fighters, it doesn't matter how good they are, you're pretty much going to win. You're going to beat anybody just by swamping them with 36 fighters. I love bone pickers, so I thought I'd do a funny one with just maximum bone pickers. And the maximum that I've got, all armed, is 36 fighters in this Cawdor list. What do you think to that? Let me know. Have you done any silly Cawdor builds or silly Redemptionist builds that I should know about? Please do let me know. What do you think of this? Would you use it? This is a silly video, so please don't take it too seriously. Let's move on to the next house. Okay, so for the next silly house list that I've done here, we're of course going to House Delac now. In alphabetical order, House Delac are the House of Shadow. They excel in cunning tricks and sneaking around the board and doing other sort of shenanigans. So in this list, again, it's a spam list, so we've gone for repetition here, and this is a really sort of unusual one. What we've got here effectively are 10 fighters in this gang, which is a lot. Now the 10 fighters that we've got, of course, we did have to take a leader. So we've got a Master of Shadow here who has mesh armor, an auto pistol and a web gun. Coming in at 235 credits. It's quite expensive, but we've given him Infiltrate as well. Now he's the only sort of serious, dangerous, scary, normal thing about this list. But Infiltrate with a web gun and mesh armor, fantastic in his own right. So he can do a lot of damage with his web gun. Turn 1 coming on, infiltrating and just doing his thing. Now, of course, again, this is not a serious competitive list. So the next part is going to be completely ridiculous. And that, of course, is 9 Psygeists. Now, Psygeists are the prospects for House Delac. They are psychic. They don't have great willpower, but they do come with a psychic ability. And the one that I've chosen for all of these 9 is Spatial Psychosis, which is a simple, I believe, and you can pin a fighter. Now, of course, when you've got 10 fighters in your gang, the chorus of whatever it's called means that the range of your psychic abilities is extended when you're surrounded by other fighters from your gang and stuff as well. So bear that in mind when you've got 10 fighters, it's pretty good for a Delac list. Now each of these Psygeists comes with a stiletto knife and an auto pistol for 85 credits with Spatial Psychosis. Now they don't have any armor, they're not particularly good in close combat or at shooting, but having those stiletto knives is actually pretty scary. If you're familiar with Escher Juves, just running at Goliath leaders, Warlock leaders and taking them out with one shot, these guys can all do that. They can also all pin, like every turn, all your guys are constantly pinning stuff and then running up and stabbing them with stiletto knives. So in my head, this is quite a fun, really silly, really fluffy list where you can just pin stuff non-stop, run around with your web gun just spraying people and then stab everybody with your stiletto knives. So let me know what you think of this list. It's pretty damn silly. I mean, but I don't know, it might be quite effective. I'd actually quite like to use this just to see what it's like, but yeah, no range at all, no real punch, just a lot of stiletto knives and a lot of pinning mechanics. So that's House Delac. Again, let me know what you think. Please comment down below. Let's move on to the next house now. Oh dear. I'm laughing because I think I've lost my mind a little bit since I've been here. I haven't been at work yet, I haven't got a job yet, so too much time on my own or with my 8-year-old son probably affected my mental state, I'll be honest. So moving on to House Escher now, I'm kind of laughing because this is it's just so ridiculous. I can't believe I'm doing this video, but I hope you enjoy it anyway. Now the Escher list, the House of Blades, is equally as ridiculous as the last one. It involves lots of prospects. Now, there are only 7 fighters on this list. However, there is a bonus to that. So what we've got with this Escher list, again, 1,000 credits here, is we have a leader, a queen, with, what did I give her? Let's have a look. She's got just a lasgun for 5 credits because Escher lasguns are amazing. And she's got the skill Spring Up, meaning that she is only 130 credits. Of course, this is a silly spam list, so don't worry about the loadout too much there. We just went for something cheap because I want to squeeze in as many of the following fighters as possible. So we've got a 5 credit lasgun. She costs 130 credits. We're giving her Spring Up. Nice. Now for the next part. We have 6 Wild Runners, which are the prospects. Now, Wild Runners are not that great. They have fairly average stats, but they do have high movement, so they've got a movement 6 here, which is quite cool. What they do have, though, is they get access to something called Felix Cats, which are a house pet. Now, you can have 2 Felix Cats on each of these, and we have gone for 2 Felix Cats on each of these as well, meaning that your 6 Wild Runners is effectively 18 fighters, I believe. So you've got 19 fighters in this list. They don't count towards your actual bottle checks and stuff, but it's a lot of bodies to have on the board, a lot of screening, a lot of ridiculousness. Now, none of these Wild Runners have any equipment. They don't have armor, they don't have weapons, they don't have bows. They just have 2 Felix Cats. This is probably the simplest and most ridiculous list out of the bunch. It's not very good, it's not very effective, but it would be really fun to play 18 fighters or 12 Felix Cats and 6 Wild Runners there, I think, as well, while your leader's just in the background pinning stuff with her lasgun. Not much to talk about with this one. What do you think? Have you done an hilarious Escher build that I am completely missing here? But I do think this is quite hilarious. Just maximum Felix Cats, maximum cats. You could call this Battle Cat or something, I don't know. But that's House Escher. Let's move on to the next one. Now the next one is Silly Goliath. Now with Goliaths, I am very, very, very much aware that you can do all sorts of silly things and shenanigans with gene smithing. I haven't in this instance because it will just kind of overcomplicate things, but I would really, really like to know in the comments down below if you can. I'd like to know what your experiments have been and if you have really taken Goliath to the absolute maximum potential with gene smithing, which I'm sure some of you have, because there are some serious min-maxers out there, not to name any names, but I know that some of you have got some real interesting tactical thoughts on what you can do with gene smithing. So I'd like to know what you can do in a 1,000 credit list with Goliaths. Maybe I'll do this as a competition at some point in the future. Actually, it'd be quite a good idea to get someone's best lists and maybe do a little reward for that. But in the meantime, we've got a House Goliath list here that I've done, and it's pretty funny. It's very similar to the last one, the Escher list here. I've gone with the Forged Tyrant as the boss here, and he has got nerves of steel, furnace plates, and a bolt gun. That's all he's got, and he clocks in at 195 credits. So very expensive, the most expensive leader here, but you need something in this list that's reliable because the following fighters are absolutely the opposite of reliable. We've gone for, how many have we got here? Let's have a look. We've got 7 Forgeborn. So the Forgeborn are the prospects, and they're all clocking in at 115 credits, equally armed with Storm Welders. So furnace plates and Storm Welders here. I mean, what's not to like? Basically, a Storm Welder is a rapid fire 3 unstable shock and reckless gun which can hit your own fighters and will, and usually tends to kill them as well. It's strength 4, it's got shock, strength 5, it's got shock. No AP though, but it's got an ammo 3 up, so that's pretty good. But yeah, with a range of 8 to 16 inches there as well. But can you imagine having, what, 7 of these, did I say? Running around, hitting each other, hitting everyone else. Just the amount of carnage that would be present in this Goliath list. It's just hilarious to think about. So let me know if you've come up with anything sillier than that, but I mean, that is the most self-destructive, yet also just destructive in general Goliath list I could possibly think of. Sure, it's not in any way effective, but boy, would it be fun. Okay, on to House Warlock now, the sort of vanilla boys, the masters of nothing. The House Warlock one actually I really like, and I think is probably the most competitive out of these 6 silly house lists. What do you think? I'll let you know what it is. Now we've got a leader who's a road captain, of course, with a combat shotgun, smoke grenades, mesh armor, iron hard, and shotgun savant. So he's a really good leader. I mean, he's got 3 wounds out of the box, which is amazing. Warlock leaders are just incredible. Iron hard means that he ignores the first serious injury or out of action in the game. Shotgun savant means he can use his combat shotgun very effectively indeed, giving you short range bonuses to long range, etc. as well. He's got a smoke grenade just for extra lols, and mesh armor as well too, clocking in at 190 credits. It's not too bad really. Then we've got 9 wreckers. Now wreckers are your prospects for House Warlock. You'll notice a pattern with these silly lists. The wreckers that I've got here have all got identically armed loadouts of flak armor, stub guns, and flails. So flails are an excellent weapon. They're 20 credits each, but they're +1 to hit and they're +1 strength. They also have entangle, meaning that you can't parry them. So a fantastic weapon for 20 credits there. And you've also got a stub gun as well, which is +2 to hit at close range. Very nice. They're only 5 credits. Now these guys clock in at 90 credits each, which seems like a lot, but with your jump booster as well, you're getting +2, you're getting +1 to hit on the charge and +1 strength as well. When you combine that with your flail, you're suddenly, hitting on 3s and wounding a lot of things on 3s as well. Sometimes even 2s. So really good. I mean, it's funny as hell. Having 9 wreckers is just insane. I'd really like to use this list. I might actually do it. I might create a campaign and just go full wrecker list. Has anybody done it out there? I'd really like to know. I mean, it's very tempting. When you look at wreckers, I think they're probably my favourite prospect out of the bunch. I mean, they are my favourite prospect out of the bunch. They're fantastic. So, 9 wreckers with flails and stub guns. It's just absolute mayhem. And that leader is really nasty as well. So there you go, that's House Warlock. We're going to move on to the last and arguably the most disgusting of the bunch now, House Fanstar. So last but by no means least, we have House Fanstar, silly spam list here now. So this one is kind of gross, I'm not going to lie. I mean, all Fanstar lists are kind of gross, but you know my bias and prejudice towards Fanstar, I'm afraid. Now, you got to go for a leader, so the prime that I've gone for here is 155 credits. He just has a lasgun and fast shot with mesh armor and the armored body glove that he gets for free, meaning that he's got a 4-up save with a lasgun, hitting on 2s, shooting twice each turn, pinning very reliably indeed, occasionally wounding stuff. So it's actually not too bad. Sure, the lasgun isn't going to deal out too much damage, but just having 2 very reliable lasgun shots that have great ammo, what's not to like about that? This is a silly spam list though, so of course normally you'd give him a plasma gun or a melter gun or something like that. Now, we've then gone for 9 prospects, similar to the Warlock list that we had just before. Now the 9 prospects here are all on surfboards, and they're all annoying little shits on surfboards. So there are 9 of them. Now most of them have got lasguns because they can take lasguns, which is again disgusting. So you've got highly maneuverable lasgunners that are hitting fairly reliably with their ballistic skill of 4-up with an 18-inch short range, adding +1, not bad at all. Very maneuverable, pinning the shit out of everything possible. They've also got mesh armor and the body glove as well, giving them that all-important 4-up save. These guys can't be pinned because they're on a surfboard. They can also do drive-by attacks with that surfboard as well. So they do have a little bit of close combat threat too, really. The last 2 members of the Neotechs don't have lasguns because they couldn't quite afford them, so I've just given them las pistols instead. Again, they've all got mesh armor though. So you have a horde of surfboard nutcases with lasguns and las pistols. It's not going to hurt anything, but boy is it going to be fucking annoying. So it's just the amount of pinning potential and the amount of just annoying pew that you've got going on here is kind of hilarious. Again, I'd quite like to use these. In fact, what I might do is a battle report with your favorite 2 of these. Maybe an all wrecker list against an all Neotech list, I don't know. I think the Stormwelder one would be pretty funny too, but the obvious thing is they don't have the models to represent a gang of all bone pickers or a gang of all feelings cats and whatnot. But this is all theoretical stuff. But that's the end of the video anyway. I thought I'd just give you something a bit silly and stupid for the time being while I try and get my setup sorted out a bit better. So, you know, please let me know in the comments down below what you think about these lists, whether you'd actually use them, whether you've got even funnier or more bizarre or ridiculous examples that you can give me. I think this is a really good one for the community to get involved with. So anyway, please do like, share, subscribe, and of course check out my Patreon as well. It's a really good way of being able to support me directly. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.